What is up, racers and race fans? Welcome to Race Review episode 16, and it's a special one. We are in Indiana, more precisely at the CK&A Grand Nats at Newcastle Motorsports Park in, Newcastle, Indiana. Well, it's actually not in Newcastle. It's in a little tiny, it's not even a town. Well, it's like a village called Spiceland. Anyway, I'm going down a rabbit hole here. We are at Grand Nats. It is Christmas Day, so Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve. I'm going to jump right into it. This is probably one of my favorite races in a while. Grand Nats is always a great time, but this was a great heat. This was after qualifying. We qualified somewhere in the mid to high 40s. The pack for senior light, we were about, I want to say, probably 92, 93 people in that class. And the other class that we ran on the same chassis, mind you, there were 100 something in that senior medium class. So it was a crazy class, but this class is at 340 pounds. Senior medium was 365. So we'll dive into the differences of what we did and how we adapted to those different classes. But for now, let's just get into it. So essentially, we're getting out of the pits here. We always is an interesting situation at Newcastle because we angle the pits up like that. It's just something like that. But before we dive into this, and you probably may have seen the direct videos themselves, but this field is always massive. There's always action. There's always chaos. And for those of you who watch the live stream on Car Chaser, you'll know there's always something going on. And that was really the bummer about Car Chaser is that, you'd watch the Car Chaser, they'd be focusing on the top 5, top 10, maybe top 15. But everywhere you look in that field, there's going to be action. And that's really the beauty of running this series. So it's heat number 1, there's some people out of position who didn't qualify very well. And there's other people who are higher up than they normally are. So everyone's just kind of, wanting to find their place. We're just getting our tires a little bit warmer, just trying to find what we need to blitz the start, because these starts are always crazy, and you can make up 10 spots in lap 1, and you can lose all your spots in lap 1. You got guys way at the front there. They'll be in like 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th position, and they'll lose all of it by the end of lap 1, and they'll be way in the back of the field, so there's a lot at risk. Certainly, to get a win at a race weekend, at a race event like this, you can't have any bad heats. You got to get all your heats right. So let's see if we got the green here. Get a little bunched up there. Push a little bit, but we are green. And so once we pass the start finish line, we can leave our trim line. We do just move it over a little bit inside the cut, protect ourselves there. Get a little bit bunched up here. He loses it. A little bit of a bump. I'm not sure that was me, to be honest. I hope it wasn't. That wasn't intentional for sure. So we send one down the inside of this Morel here. Massive pileup right there. But we just thread our way through there very nicely. We made up probably 6, 7, 8 spots at this point. We go round the outside of that car right there. As he tries to squeeze us, we say no, thank you very much. And we're going to try and get past that factory car right there as we catch up to the other VLR driver, Cade, but we're going to lose some spots right here because we are on the outside coming out of this corner. He actually leaves us the room there as I'm checking the cap for my fuel tank. I'm not sure if I was leaking fuel, but I love car pumps. That's a good sticker. I like that sticker. Let's see if we're going to make a move. We aren't quite going to make a move here. Maybe we're just biding our time. Oh, but he makes a big mistake there and runs off wide. And, of course, now we got that momentum. We're going to take that spot because there's a whole pack of people behind us who want to get ahead of us. And really, hesitation in any field like this that's what's going to get you killed. You can never stop pushing. That guy makes a massive send. I forget his name. Another VLR driver. We had a good field of VLR drivers there this weekend. Of course, me being one of them. But I probably was not always the most helpful to my teammates. Seeing as the factory car pushes himself wide, and that 303 wants his position back. So see there. Another car's going to try and get by us. As you can see, there's just never-ending mayhem in this race, which is part of what makes it so fun and also so dangerous. You really never know what's going to happen. So Burrell goes down the inside of the factory car right there. gets that position by and manages to clear that factory car again. Are we going to go for the move on this kid? We should, but I don't think we did. We just wanted to keep a little bit tidy, maybe coming out of that corner. We might be able to get him into the hairpin corner. We get that draft coming up the hill there. We're going to get some good speed. Once we get the Reveler, we'll see if we can get anything. We definitely have it in the braking zone, but kind of backing out there. And one of the mistakes that I made this weekend that really haunted us a lot was that I was wrong on my pressures. I talked to one of the other VLR drivers who's that number 5 who's really far up. You can see him right there coming around the toilet bowl hairpin there, as we call it. He was running much lower pressures than I was, and I only realized this too late after my mains. I still made it into the mains for this class, but it wasn't ideal. As you can see here, at this point in the race, my tires are too hot. I'm sliding everywhere. I'm having a really tough time controlling the kart, which is why those 3-4 drivers who are up ahead of me right now are pulling away from me despite me blitzing them right at the start of the race. So that is really something that we noticed but couldn't quite get our fingers on, get the pulse on earlier on, which is a bit of a bummer. As you can see, I'm really fighting the wheel as the other Kraus, and this kind of cracks me up as I'm not side by side with someone here, but so this, I think his name's Jaden Kraus, which is funny because my name is Raphael Kraus, and I've never met another Kraus. I've never met another Kraus in real life, let alone in karting. So I raced him last year at Grand Nets, but this year I actually was as fast as him, maybe a little bit faster than him, depending. We were definitely close. Last year I was terrible. I don't even want to talk about that. I did terrible last year at Grand Nets. It was an embarrassment. But now we're the Kraus duo here. My tires kind of cooled down a little bit, so I'm not quite managing it as much, but you can see right there, getting sucked in the draft a little bit, closing up on him coming into that corner, keeping the speed there nice and sees. He's kind of sawing away too. He might be too high on his pressures as well. See he goes wide there. Maybe Tony's tend to cook their front, so that might be what was happening in there. So we kind of push him, and he wants me to push him, and then I move to the overtake. He blocks it. He definitely didn't like that. But now we kind of know a little bit about him too, just on his driving style. That kind of tells me that he's someone who doesn't really like to be passed, and we're going to have to make a very firm decision when we pass him, really to not be nice about it. Because there's some drivers who will let you by, and there's other drivers who you have to forcibly take from. So let's see how we're doing here. You see, we're still kind of sawing away at the wheel right there, so still kind of hot on those tires. As the number 13 driver in front of us seems to be struggling now, as we kind of push him at an angle coming out of that corner because he was so slow and kind of taking a little bit of a weird line. As there's a kart spun out right in front of us, which is at 303. Not a surprise considering he was kind of driving, well, for a lack of better words, not very nicely earlier on. So let's see if we can get past this. Oh, as that number 13 moves over, maybe he wants to give us a draft to kind of help us out a little bit. That's very nice of him. Us Kraus has got to stick together. There aren't too many of us. So that was a fun little piece of teamwork right there. Is that MPG cart there, miles per gallon cart as we jokingly call it, but they're, I believe it's a CRG chassis. So now we kind of, it's last lap, I believe, white flag. So we said, let's get ahead of this kid. We're kind of done with it. I want to, it's the end of the race. I'm going to make my move. Izzy goes back for it. Let's see if this guy tries to squeeze us, but he really can't do anything because he's not far ahead enough of me. And if I can just kind of squeeze him a little bit going into here, which I do, and he's still side by side, but that lines me up perfectly to make this pass into this next corner here, which is fine because I can get by both of them. And I might have waved at him a little bit because I might have squeezed him a little bit. Someone's probably going to try and send it. There he goes again. We kind of do a little bit of a switchback because he went in too deep. And he's waving his hand and like, what are you doing, buddy? I said, I'm racing. I'm not going to let you by. And this might have been the last lap. This was kind of actually a very fun battle. As we come around this last dip here, which is always such a weird corner because you just drop down way low and you come up way high. Was this? No, it wasn't last lap. Oh, okay, yeah, now I remember. So he was waving those flags, and I thought that was last lap. Not the first time I've done that. To be fair, it was a stupid thing to do. But ironically, what it did result in was that those guys got so checked up that the group behind me started really battling with each other. So that allowed me to pull a little bit of a gap of although we're probably still about 4 laps to go. I don't remember what that flag was about. I'd have to go back in the video and check it out to see what flag he was waving. But when I was driving, and again, as you can see, like, just doing commentary right now, I actually did think that was a white flag he was throwing. So, you know, you're fighting a bunch of guys. You don't realize, again, you're just sliding there. The tire's too hot. But you don't always think of that stuff when you're really in the heat of battle, because you're so preoccupied with racing the other guys. You're not going to look at that little screen you see in the center of my steering wheel. That tells me how many laps I've run, but it doesn't tell you the exact amount, because the way it's set up is you don't always think about that stuff. And let's see, what's he showing? That's 2 laps to go, and so that 86 kart, which I believe is the reincarnation of what used to be the factory kart team, kart number 69. Nice. So he gets ahead of us right there, but we're probably going to see if we can't just kind of draft away with him from the rest of the field of the guys behind us now. Because 2 laps to go, we do want to protect our advantage a little bit. And again, you want to play that strategy game. You got a big field of guys, if you can pull away from them. Like, he has a big slide right there, and I know right away that means I'm going to get a good run on him here. And that'll give me some good speed, because he is a little bit quicker than me, and we do realize this, so it doesn't make sense to try and pass him until we're like way at the end of the race, because that would just compromise me versus the guys that I'm really in a fight with, because he's clearly, you know, a couple tenths a lap faster than me. He really is leaning into that corner, but something about it, he just doesn't quite have it in some of these corners. In other corners, he's destroying me, so he runs really wide there, but it seems to work for him, because he still gained that advantage, you know, maintained that advantage that he got over me by exiting that corner faster. So again, white flag now, 1 lap to go, so we're really tucking ourselves in. We want to keep up with this guy and prevent any overtakes from behind, because it may be the first heat, but that's how you set up a good weekend, is by having consistently good finishing positions. And you can lose, you know, 5-10 positions right at the end of a race like this, and that's definitely not what we want to see. Another glance over there, we see if we got anybody really coming forward behind us. So far, so good. Nothing really to worry about. We're towards the end of the race, and we're still getting a little bit of that draft, although it probably isn't very much, but I don't think that there's anyone. Oh, there's a big wreck. You guys take each other out as we dash through the inside to avoid taking him out, but we don't want to lose that position. Is that Colin driver there again? I think he might have been one of the guys that got tagged in that incident. And now our tires are coated in grass, so we're in dirt, so we have no grip whatsoever. You see me kind of frantically scrubbing the wheel a little bit just to try and get some of that grip back. So that was an interesting moment, cutting through the grass to get by him, but we kind of defend the inside a little bit there because we want to make sure that no one's going to get by us. But it is last lap, so we just really got to race to the finish line now. Should be easy, nothing to it. Checkered flag is being waved, and that's that. So all in all, it was a good race. I think we made up about 10 spots, so we finished potentially in the high 30s. Again, you know, I don't claim to be the best driver in the world, but Grand Nats is certainly the stiffest competition in 206 racing that exists, period. It doesn't get better than this. So if you win at Grand Nats, you are the best of the best. You're better. One could argue, and I actually have made this argument multiple times, that Grand Nats as a whole, because we had over 500 entries in this race, one could argue that this is probably more stiff competition than some of these quote-unquote national championships in Europe. But that is just an opinion. I don't know if that's true or not, but it would be interesting to see if there was a way to measure that. As I'm just kind of chatting with one of the drivers, I think I felt I was a little bit mean to him, or I was joking about taking to the grass to avoid hitting that guy, but it's all friendly. People,
was it just me, or did he
no
throw a
fist
white
fights.
flag like halfway through?
Yeah, and I did ask if he threw a white flag.
I don't know. I could have sworn that was a white flag. I was like, oh,
I like chopping it up with other drivers after the race.
I'm a dick.
Also, because it allows you to make friends and hate you. Oh, this one's from next one. Anyhow, Merry Christmas. Don't forget to subscribe.